What's up, everybody? This is episode 3 of A Moment with Maddog podcast. And this week, I'm actually going to talk about my experience that I had at the most recent Comic-Con, which was Summercon. And I'm doing this podcast not to only just talk about the experience. Overall, it was an amazing con. But also, too, I want to give tips and tricks because as someone who just starting to go to Comic-Cons this year, for some, it may be overwhelming. There may be a lot of people at the convention, right? And, it could be overwhelming. It could be crowded. There's going to be lines. There's going to be a lot of people, no matter how big of a scale the Comic-Con actually is. So I'm going to say my experience about Summercon in general, and then I'm going to give 3 tips towards the end. So if you want to hear those tips, especially if you're someone that's interested in going to Comic Cons or any type of convention similar to that in that matter, and kind of want to know where to start, just wait till the end. I promise it's going to be worth it. Okay, so Summercon. I did not know Summercon was a thing until a couple of months ago. The first Comic-Con I actually ever went to was in February, March timeframe. I forget exactly, but it was Emerald City Comic Con, which is based in Seattle, and it's one of the biggest conventions that is in the space itself, right? It was massive. It was at the Seattle Convention Center. There was a lot of people. There was a lot of stuff. It was on multiple floors, thousands of people, right? And I also dressed up. I cosplayed, did the whole 9 yards, kind of navigated that convention a little differently, so that way this time going to SummerCon, kind of have a different game plan in mind. And mind you, this SummerCon, I kind of had a different agenda as well. So I wasn't really feeling cosplay, like dressing up or doing any type of cosplay, and it was just, I was not feeling it. I think for me, just moving forward, because I'm someone, and this might be for anyone, if I'm someone that loves being outside, and in Washington State, when it does get warmer, trying to be outside during the spring and summer months is kind of more of my forte. So moving forward, if I'm going to make any type of cosplay for the year upcoming, I'm going to try and do it in the fall and winter when it's rainy and gloomy and all that stuff, whatever, right? So, SummerCon. SummerCon was a much smaller scale in terms of just the size of it. It was at the Puyallup Mattress Firm Show Complex where they hold the Washington State Fair every year. And so there wasn't as many vendors and stuff like that. However, it was in multiple buildings, which was great because not only, if you felt congested in a building, you can go outside and get fresh air. So that was difference number 1, which was massive, right? And difference number 2, again, it's not as big. There's not as many vendors. There was a lot of people, but there wasn't as many people as Emerald City Comic-Con. So that was, a huge plus. And like I said, this time, since I kind of had a feel of what conventions were going to be like, I kind of had a game plan, right? So I didn't cosplay, which was game plan number 1, because I'm like, part number 1, I'm like, I'm going in, I have an agenda, I'm ready to rock and roll. Now, specifically for SummerCon, I'm wearing the Mando version of the shirt, so they did have actors and actresses from The Mandalorian and other Star Wars projects and stuff. My main thing was that there was a good vast majority of the original voice acting cast of Last Airbender, and I haven't talked about it yet on the podcast, but I have started a leg sleeve for both Legend of Korra and Last Airbender. It's pretty much my favorite animated show of all time, ranked up there with one of my favorite shows of all time. So part of my game plan was I wanted to get signatures, primarily of the members that were part of the gang, right? Everyone was there. The voice actors and actresses were there for gang, minus Mae Whitman, who voiced Katara. So that was game plan number 1. I wanted to get all their signatures that were there. I also, part of the game plan was going to photo op with them as well. So that I did. That was part of it. And then just, I tried to go to their panel, but this is something, it's not a major it is a major tip, but I'll talk about a little later, is that I didn't plan my time well in terms of how tired I would be from 2 days of con. So I unfortunately did not go to their panel, but it's not going to be the last time they do a panel, right? So I'm not too upset about that. I mean, I got to talk to the actors and actresses one-on-one up at their table, so I wasn't... the questions, if I had any specific questions about the show, like, I had the opportunity to ask them when they were signing my stuff. And so, yeah, so like I said, the building layout was a little different, which I pretty much enjoyed because, again, if you felt overwhelmed, it was too crowded, you can just go outside and get fresh air because, it's in this big show complex. Also, too, was very easily navigatable. Like, like they have big signs in every building on what specifically is in there. The lanes between booths for the vendor part of the show was way bigger than Emerald City Comic Con, so you actually had room to breathe when you're walking from vendor to vendor to different booths and stuff. I also personally so the signing and photo ops lines were a little bit different. I can't really per se say exactly what Emerald City Comic Con signature process was like, but what I did like about here is that every individual had their own line. So because what I could see from Emerald City Comic Con, there was like a line to get to a line, right, for the individuals, and I didn't like that. Like, I'm okay with waiting in line. I mean, like, I was in the military, so sitting around, get up and wait, hurry up and wait is like, I'm good with that. But like, for stuff like this that I'm volunteering for instead of being voluntold for, like, if I'm going to do it myself, I'd rather not wait in as long as the line as possible. So I like that every individual had their own line, right? There's none of this 2s and 3s and stuff like that for the lines. So that was very manageable to do. Also for the photo ops, since they had a loudspeaker in the main building, they called out when your photo op time was. So I had a photo op time of 12:50 on Sunday, and I'm like, okay. First thing I did, because I noticed the day before, we were was there on Saturday and Sunday, and I noticed the day before that the photo op line was through the roof. And then that wasn't even for the photos itself. It was just to redeeming your ticket to take the photo. And so that was long to begin with. So Sunday, Saturday was mainly get signatures from most of the actors and actresses. And then Sunday was like, get what other signatures that I wanted. And then go to the photo op. And what's nice about it in the main building is they actually called out the times for when the photo ops were happening. So I was in the building like 45 minutes before the photo op was going to happen anyway, just in case there was a long wait or whatever. But luckily they did announce the times over the loudspeaker so people would be aware of, like, if they have a photo op, that it's coming up, right? So that was really nice as well. I talked about the own lines also too. Most of the lines I were in moved relatively fast. I will say that everyone that I talked to, if you get them going, they can talk for a reasonable amount of time, which is great because, like, it's one thing if you watch someone on TV and you see the character that they're playing or they're speaking for, it's one thing, but like when you're actually meeting them in person for the first time, it's totally different. For me, like, now watching TikToks about like anything from The Mandalorian or from Last Airbender, I feel like totally different, like, right? So it's kind of surreal. So you want to spend that time up there when you meet the people, the individuals. But yeah, the lines moved relatively fast. Regardless, some people did have a longer line than others, so that's something to take into consideration. Is like who are the ones for popular demand, right? So kind of plan your day around that. And then what I like to do is, I got super lucky, is that I think it was twice that I sneaked in a signature, as in, like, I barely waited in line and I got a signature from someone. So that was really great. That was just luck of the draw, though. If it happens like that, kudos, like, that's awesome. But if not, yeah, that was just lucky experiences for both times. Everyone, at least a lot of people I meet at Comic Con are actually very friendly, very nice, very sociable. They're all there for the same reason as you, right? So if you want to start up a conversation about your favorite fandom, about your favorite characters, about the actors, the actresses, everyone, you're more than willing. More than one or so people are going to actually chime in, and you can have a full blown on conversation where you're also waiting in the lines. So time can go by fast. If you are while you're waiting, if you're just a little bit sociable and you start up a conversation with the people around you. Now, like I said, I was super excited to meet the vast majority of the gang, right? So we had the voice actors in terms of the gang. Again, most of the original voice cast for Last Airbender was there, anyways, which was great. I wasn't planning on getting their signature, like everyone's signatures, just because time frame, budget, all that stuff, right? So the people that were there for the gang was Dante Bosco, Zach Tyler Einstein, Zach Tyler Einstein, Jack DeCina, and wow, I always forget her name. She goes by Instagram by Jenny Flowers. I'll look. Yep, Jenny Flowers, Jessie Flowers. Sorry, and she's the voice actress for Toph. So those were my main goals, and Dante Bosco had a line pretty much out the door, right? Like so many people were lining up for him. Jessie Flowers was also Toph, right? Toph is a hot commodity. Her line was also long as well. The thing about Zach is that Zach was kind of like hidden for a couple of years, right? He kind of like dropped off the map, and now he started doing cons again, so people were waiting in line for him. Jack DeCina, after lunch or whatever, he also had a line as well. But everyone was super nice. Everyone was talkable and sociable and stuff. However, I also, I didn't have this planned, but I got signatures from both Emily Swallow and Paul Sung-Yun Lee from The Mandalorian. Those were just a little bit extras, right? So, as you can see, this is my Aang. Again, Zach just is coming back to cons again and signing stuff. The voice actor for Aang. And so, I will say though, out of everyone that I met, it's fun seeing the people that voiced your favorite characters as a kid. But out of everyone I met, I think the one that was most worth it was Paul Sung-Yun Lee. And, he's great. He's he's going to be live action Iroh, right? And, waiting in line, you can tell he's very sociable just from viewing his interactions with people waiting in the line, right? When they got up to him, and he was laughing, sounded like he having a good time or whatever. And so when I got up to him, he immediately greeted himself, shook my hand. He apologized for the wait, which the wait was not bad to begin with. And he's like, I want to individually spend some time with each and everyone who comes up because they were waiting. And that right there in itself was like, that is so genuinely nice and humble, right? I'm like 5 stars right off the bat. And then of course, on Saturday, it was released that he actually had tea with Greg Baldwin, who was the second voice actor for Iroh after Mako. So I was asking him about questions about that. I was asking him how he felt about filming the entire process for the TV show. I was asking him about The Mandalorian, because he's a huge Star Wars fan. He's like, he's like, yeah, how you are for Last Airbender is how I am for Star Wars, right? And we were just talking, and also took pictures with him, which I'll include right now. And it was so great. If you even know him from one little thing, if it's just him, his Captain Deva character from Mandalorian, or Kim's Convenience, or in the future when he says he's Iroh 3.0, I would highly, highly recommend you jumping in on his line and getting a signature from him, because you will not be disappointed. I was pleasantly surprised by the interaction that I had with him. So long story short, Summercon was an absolute success. It was so much fun. I was able to get every signature I wanted and then some. Got to meet all these different people that, again, I never thought I would meet. And I came home with some other things such as like stickers, posters, pictures, all that good stuff. And so the moment that we've been waiting for, my 3 tips on my 3 tips I recommend or for if you're going to go to Comic-Con. So the 3 tips. Number 1 is always, always, always bring cash with you. And I'm not saying that the convention's not going to have ATMs. However, some of the people that were offering signatures and pictures and stuff, some of the actors and actresses, they were only accepting cash, right? And, you may be in line waiting and you don't know that they accept card or cash, and then you get up towards the front and look, cash only, and then you're like, oh, crap, right? I gotta go and get cash. So always bring cash with you. And yeah, convention centers are going to have ATMs. However, because of this issue, people were going to the ATMs. The ATM lines were super long, and by the end of the weekend, most of the ATMs were out of order. So tip number 1, bring cash with you to the beginning of the convention, or at the beginning of every convention day. Make sure you have a reasonable amount of cash in your wallet for instances like that. Tip number 2, especially if you're planning on getting signatures and whatnot, and even if you're not planning on going to panels, look to see, or photo ops, look to see what the actors or actresses schedule is for panels and photo ops. And I'll tell you why. Hold on one second. I'll tell you why. Because I forget who the voice actor was. But I was waiting in line for Dante Bosco, right? And he was the only person I really wanted a signature from on Sunday. And after I got my photo op ticket, I went and waited straight in his line. And the voice actor next to us, his line was increasingly getting longer and longer, right? And eventually, the people that were working at the convention, they were like, oh, like, we're trying to convince the actors and actresses to come out early because they had photo ops, the photo op I was supposed to go to and everything. I'm like, cool, that's great. Dante Bosco did come out 10 to 15 minutes early, which, awesome, right? I really, really appreciated that. But the voice actor next to us, it's still like 20 minutes into Dante being there, and he's not showing up, right? And so, come to find out, one of the convention members was like, hey, sorry, he had a panel to go to, and he decided to go to that first, and then I'll come to signatures. And then everyone left, because they didn't want to wait another hour and a half just for him to get there to sign signatures, right? And while they could be doing other things. So if you're planning on signatures, waiting in line, look to see what times the people are going to have photo ops and what times they're going to have panels, because they're most likely going to leave 15 to 20 minutes before that happens. And then if you're in the line and you're not up to the time that they leave, then you're either going to wait an hour or more so when you can be doing other stuff, or you might not even get the chance to get the signature and meet the actor or actress, and that's it. So that's tip number 2. And then tips number 3, and this is you can do this if you want, but I'm a talkative type of person. I like to communicate, hence one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast. And so tip number 3 is I recommend is always at least have one question to ask everyone up at their table when you meet them. They're there to interact. They're there to engage with their fans, right? And I did not ask really a question to Emily Swallow, and I'm gut-wrenched that I didn't, because everyone else I had a question to ask, and it was a very enjoyable conversation, and that just added to the experience of what Summercon is, right? And if you're someone that's not only there going to meet the people that you want, but you also want to interact with them, then at least have one question, which, eventually, depending on the actor, actresses, because they might not be as that talkative as well, but that happens. But it could lead on to a longer conversation, and that will just add to the overall experience and overall enjoyment of the convention. So again, my 3 tips are: always bring cash with you at the beginning of each day. Plan your time around photo ops and panels, and always have a question for everyone that you're going to meet at the convention. That's it. And that's it for my podcast of this week's Moment with Maddog. If you want me to do more tips and tricks and stuff like this, leave a comment down below. I'm happy to help. And until next time, have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you guys soon.